Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. And I think we're seeing each other for the third time this month because we've been doing a bunch of webinars. Thank you for joining in today. And we have a wonderful session ahead today. So, in the meantime, while we wait for the others to join in, maybe you can grab a pen and a notebook and get set for the webinar. And if you're really excited for the webinar, you can use the chat to let us know what you're most keen on learning in today's webinar. Please use the chat and let me know your thoughts. And our speaker will also get a heads up on what are the things um, everyone in the audience is excited for. We'll wait for a couple of more minutes. Maybe we have a few more attendees who have to join in. So we'll give it a few minutes. And for those of you who've already joined, thanks for being here early. I see some of our regulars here. Yeah. Vince is also here. Hey, Vince. We see Megan and Damien also. Nice to have you guys here. Hello. Hey, Damien. How are you doing today? Really nice to have you here. Hey, Megan. Great to hear. All right. I think we can get started. For those of you who are new here, I'm Vaishnavi and I'm from Bookie. And for those of you who don't know Bookie, Bookie is a fitness business automation software. And we are obsessed with helping fitness studios and we love helping them be better at business. And that's why we've created this whole studio success series because we think boutique fitness studios have the potential to become $1 million businesses. And through the course of this Studio Success series, we hosted a bunch of workshops. We had a 4 hour long Meta Ads bootcamp, which all of you loved, and we loved hosting it for you. We also had a recent session on boutique studio automations, and we helped you learn how you can nurture your leads. We've specifically crafted this series so you can learn firsthand from successful entrepreneurs in the fitness industry, and they're going to come here and share their experiences and learnings. And today is going to be the same. So today's webinar is the third in this series, and it's going to be a really informative session. And we think it's the most relevant topic for all of you to pay attention to because it's really going to help you in your online presence. And today's session is a website refresh workshop. And with our speaker, Connie, today, we'll learn how you can turn your website into a client magnet. And I'm very thrilled to introduce our friend, Connie, and she's an expert speaker for today. And a bit of introduction about Connie. Connie is super talented. She's a lot of things. I can list 10 things that she does. She's a web designer, she's a digital strategist, she's a podcast host, she's a speaker, and importantly, she's an educator. So you're in really good hands today. And what makes her really special is she's also a Google Search certified marketer and a certified Squarespace expert. So today's session is going to be really informative, rest assured. And her boutique web design agency, Pixality Design, works with fitness and wellness studio owners to create websites that are easily found, easy to update, and it provides visitors with an exceptional online experience. Also, you need to know that Connie is a retired Air Force pilot and she lives in Lincoln, Nebraska with her husband and 4 sons. And she's going to make this session really informative. So over to you, Connie.
Thanks for having me and that wonderful intro. It's great to be here. And this is absolutely a topic that I can talk about all day long because this is what I do all day long, specifically with boutique fitness studios. So I'm excited to dive in. This is called a workshop today. You might not have time to implement, but I wanted to get that vibe across from the beginning because there's so many things that you can take away and do, even just little quick wins. So I want you to kind of go through this with the idea of like, how long would that take me? Is that a quick win that I could implement and actually take something away and implement it out of this? So that's kind of the vibe that we're going to be going for in the next hour here. We already kind of did this intro of me. That's my website, though, if you want to reach out. I kind of got into this fitness world. I was a swimmer in college, so I've never owned a studio myself, but I've attended a lot of them. I love the fitness community, and I love what you all are doing for the world and for your communities and for people. So I'm a fan of yours, and that's what got me into this industry after my Air Force career. So, okay, so let's kick things off just by setting the stage on why your website is important, why I think, particularly this time of year, it needs some attention from you and a little bit of TLC and love. 97% of people learn more about a local business online than anywhere else. Those, whether they're learning about you from a friend mentioning the studio, and then what do? You pick up your phone and you Google that. So they're finding you on Google, they're coming from your social media post, whatever. All roads lead to your website. So that's why I think that this is really important. You can have a great presence and do wonderful things with your meta ads and everything else, but eventually everyone's going to come to your website. So that's where the conversion point happens, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And then this number changes regardless of what article you're reading, but the whole point is a very short period of time is all it takes for users to form an opinion about your website. So that first impression is really important. And then why I think this is great, we're doing this webinar here at the end of September. We're coming up on the end of the year, all the Black Friday, Small Business Saturday stuff, the January gym rush. And there is some truth to that. 12% of all gym signups happen in January. This is coming from Ursa, who does a lot of number crunching in the industry. And the other months average 8.3%. So there is a natural uptick of interest in what you do coming up in the next couple months. So the fact that we're talking about this now gives you time to prepare for that. It's too late in January. If you're like, oh, things aren't working, this is why you're addressing it right now. So you're ready for January. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about some trends in 2024 because that's kind of how you make sure that you have a modern website that people want to engage with. So we're going to talk some of the trends that you might have heard about and just where it fits into boutique fitness studio websites specifically. We're going to talk about the 3 things that your website must do. Oftentimes we fixate on one of them, but I want to kind of talk about all 3 so we make sure that that website is really working for your studio holistically. And then we're going to get into the more real tactical checklisty things. Like, let's do a homepage refresh. Let's look at your homepage. What are some real practical things that we can do to implement to just refresh it? This is not like requiring a giant website redesign or anything, but what are some small tweaks we can make now so that you're ready in January when more people are looking at your website and your website homepage? And feel free to post questions or whatever in the chat. There will be a Q&A time later at the end, but you can post them there while you think about them, and we can make sure we circle back to them. Okay, so let's talk about website trends first. So this is, otherwise known as how to have a modern, easy to navigate website. As a web designer, that is the one thing that everyone always tells me on that first consult call. I just want it to be modern and easy to navigate, right? So what does that really mean in 2024 heading into 2025? These are 4 of the trends that are circulating around right now when it comes to web design. Video backgrounds, accessibility, subtle animations, and then AI generated content. So we're going to hit on all 4 of those. First up, video backgrounds. This isn't new. This has been something that's been kind of trending as we continue on. Most platforms now allow for you to pretty easily add video backgrounds. And this kind of goes along with, it goes really well with websites in this industry because it adds movement and energy to the site. People can see what a class snippet is like really without pressing play or without really digging too deep into your site. So that's why we love video backgrounds for fitness studios. It's also a really good way to show diversity of people, diversity of services. If you have more than one class type, you can show little clips of them and then what the real experience is like. What we want to do, whether we're using a video background or a static image, either way, we want to capture some emotions. When we test ads and everything, ad images, graphics or photos or videos that show people smiling and actually like having some kind of emotion, positive emotion, it connects with people just instantaneously. So that's something we really want to do with our videos. We want to show the sweat, the shakes, the high fives, the smiles, whatever's appropriate for your location. For a video background, we're talking about the main video background on your page. If you want to implement this for your business, and by the way, a new photo shoot, a new video shoot is a way that you can kind of quickly refresh all of your brand assets. For that main video, we're looking for about 30 seconds total. It doesn't need to be very long. They tend to work best with about 10 to 15 different 2 to 3 second clips. So it's not like a 30 seconds of just continuous. It's more like, kind of popping around 2 to 3 different seconds. And that just shows that diversity and allows us to kind of show that energy of what's happening there. If you don't have video, full width images are a good option. One of the things that you can tell if you have a kind of a dated website or smaller images that are kind of boxed in, full width that goes from like the edge of the browser to the edge of the browser, whether it's video or photos, is one of the hallmarks of a modern website. Videos in general and the trend are powerful too. So testimonial videos, short form videos that are casual, relatable, they do really well on social media right now. This is kind of, I think, a backlash to all the AI generated content. People want real and relatable. So don't feel like every video you create needs to be like highly polished. On social media and on the website where they're testimonials, like raw and real is really the best there. For these big like background videos, those do need to be a little more like polished. The lighting needs to be good. They need to be really clear. So that's where I would invest in like a video shoot if you're doing video backgrounds on your site. Okay, moving on to accessibility next. You might have heard this term and wondered, what does this really mean? All the accessibility means, or web accessibility, means that your website works for people that use assistive technology. And so screen readers are, for visual impairments, that's one of the typical ones. A lot of people actually use screen readers that you wouldn't think, have a visual impairment. That's not just for like people who are legally blind. A lot of people use screen readers to just navigate around the website or around the internet. So you want your website to have some of that accessibility in mind when you're designing it. Accessibility is not like a check the box, my site is accessible, I'm done forever. It really is kind of an evolving thing, and it's a sliding scale on a lot of things. But what this means is, one, if you're designing for accessibility in mind, you're also going to make yourself look like a more modern website, because this is just the way all websites are evolving outside of this industry and inside it. So what this means is that there's a few different like core principles of design. One is there's high contrast text. So the color and the size, think crisp and clear text. So in this example here, white text on a dark background, it pops out. The text is also rather large. So if you're struggling, and even if you have great eyesight, if you're kind of struggling, it's like we're using really like mid-tone colors and they're blending into the background. That's not good. So we want to try to make the text pop out from the background more. And you can do that with size and or colors. Also organized content. So think intentional headlines and page flow so that your navigation and your internal links all make sense. So if you are browsing around your website and you talk about something, you should probably link to it just so it like naturally flows. People can find their way around really easy. And then this idea of multimedia communications. So in the case of accessibility, it's captions and transcripts of images and videos. So if you, it also applies to just the way that people process information right now. So if you have a video that's like an about video that explaining your studio, you need to have some text next to it that kind of explains the same thing. So they support each other. They're not completely separate separate thoughts, because some people are video watchers and some people are readers, and very few people are both, who are really trying to take it in both ways. So the same goes for images. So anytime we're talking about something, say we're talking about group classes, we want to have a picture of group classes right next to it, right? When you start to kind of mismatch those things in the multimedia, area, you start introducing a level of kind of distrust, like something's not right. So if you have a page that's all about private personal training, and then you show pictures of group classes, right? Because you don't have any private training photos, that just doesn't quite connect with the audience. So keeping everything, multimedia, you have the same point in the same area that you're talking about. All right, let's move on. Animations. Animations you have probably started to see around the internet a lot more. It's because they are more widely accessible in platform builders like Squarespace and other platforms that people use. So what I mean by animations are things like that button. You can see the little hover effect on it, changes color, and the arrow changes. So it's kind of a little engaging thing. In that case, it's not real distracting because it only happens when you hover over it. If I like this, there we go. So you can see on that little like screen share as there's a scroll animation where as you're scrolling, like the photos are moving in. On the start to today one, it's like a little bouncing arrow that goes to the thing that we want them to click on. So the idea with these animations are things are moving and they're a little more engaging on the site. It provides an immersive experience for the user. But you want to make sure that you're not just making things fly around and move just to make things fly around and move, that there is a point. So in this case, the call us button, the start here, those are things we want to draw attention to. So we're being very intentional with that movement and incorporating it in. But that is something that is you're seeing pop up on a lot more websites these days. Okay, the last trend I want to hit on is AI generated content, right? 2024 started with, Chat GPT and everyone talking about AI. It is, you probably noticed, it's in every software you use now. It's everywhere. The kind of flip on this year is that by now, in September 2024, in consumer polls, we're finding that trust is really low in AI. So consumers know it's out there. They know it kind of probably got overhyped a little bit, and they've been a little less than impressed by now. So they're leery of it. So I think the takeaway for that for studio owners is, yes, use AI internally if it works for your marketing systems and everything, but it's not something you really want to talk about and like promote as a thing that is really important to your business. Because when it comes down to it, boutique fitness is still about relationships, and that personal service is more important than ever, actually. Because of the rise of AI, I think people are gravitating towards the simplicity and the connection of personal services, and they're looking for that. So you're in a really great place as a boutique fitness studio to capitalize on that and to use that in your marketing, use that in your messaging, that's what you offer that they might not get someplace else. So just kind of wanted to bring that into context where this AI trend has evolved even in the last 9 months. That said, using AI, using Chat GPT for customer research, for brainstorming headlines, and I'm going to show you a specific example a little bit later. Outlines or first drafts of web copy, great uses for it. But be vigilant about brand voice. You have probably seen, if you played around at all with Chat GPT, some of the words that it uses that are a clear dead giveaway that you use Chat GPT. Consumers are onto that too. They know when it's like, okay, a robot wrote this, right? So this is really a time to double down and do that brand work and say, what is our brand voice? And again, I'm going to show you a real practical example later, but like if you haven't done that work on brand voice, now's a great time to do it because it really is going to make you stand out from all the people who are just using Chat GPT. Just a side note here, if you are a blogger, if you are writing content on your website to be found by Google, Google does not like AI generated content, and Google's algorithms are pretty good at spotting it. So, and there's also some copyright concerns because it's not your ideas. So if you are writing thought leadership pieces like for your blog, maybe first draft, maybe help you outline in Chat GPT, but just know that just having some Chat GPT generated content on your blog is not going to get any favors with Google. You do see AI generated content start to pop up in image generation, video generation, website designs even. These are getting better very quickly. None of them are super great yet, but that's going to be something to watch, a trend to continue to watch in 2025. I think we're going to have some great tools for doing some of that. Okay. So that's it for kind of my trend wrap up of what has happened in 2024 for and what people are talking about when it comes to websites. So let's wind back and go back to the basics about what are the must-haves of your website. And then we'll layer in the trends in a little bit. When it comes down to it, your website has to do three things. People have to find you, they have to trust you, and they have to connect with you. That's it. It's harder, a little harder done than said, but this is what that looks like in my world. So you have the visual design, the way it looks. Is it modern? Do I like the pictures? All of that. That's how people trust you or not once they get to your website. But if they didn't find you, if you don't have the search strategy where they can't find you on Google, whether even their friend just mentioned you and they go to Google to try to find you and they're not sure if this is the right site, then they're not going to get to that trust point. They're not even going to see the design. So you have to have the search strategy first so they can find you. Then the visual design makes them trust you, again, in that like half a second. And then the brand message, the words, the deeper into your website, that's how you connect with people. So you kind of need all three of these things to have a website that really works for you. So talk about visual design. If you feel, and if we go back to that, if you're looking at these, you're probably feeling, you're like, I feel pretty good about one of them or two of them. I want you to kind of think through the rest of this webinar, like what's the one area that you feel like needs to be elevated and worked on your website? Because you can work on these all independently as well. So if we look at visual design first, this is what, again, makes your website trustworthy and modern, easy, accessible. This might be an area where you might want to get a new photo or a video shoot. You might not need a whole new website, but just refreshing the photos on it, especially if you still have photos with people in mass or your services have changed, or you don't feel like the people in the photos, maybe you took all your photos with all instructors and so they don't look like real people who come to your studio. Those are all reasons why investing in a new photo shoot and then just updating the visuals on your site can go a long way. You might want to increase your text size. Back probably 5-10 years ago, the base font size on most websites was right around 15 pixels. So it was pretty small. That average font size for the base paragraph text has changed into where it's more now like 18 pixels. That definitely depends on the font itself, but there has been a trend for text to get just a little bit bigger across everything on sites. And that's a lot for those accessibility reasons I talked about. But that might be something. You just go into your site and you just bump up the font size a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. You can also pretty easily increase the contrast between text and backgrounds, making it easy to read. If you make it bigger, it'll be that way, but you can also make it like a darker background or lighter background, depending on what your text colors are. And then organize content in those small chunks of text with correlating headlines. So kind of going back and saying, am I talking about one thing here? Can I show it as well as say it? And then this is a big one. How many things do you have in your navigation up at the top, the navigation bar at the top? As your website kind of evolves, a lot of people end up just, throwing a new page up there, throwing a new page up there, and it gets to be a real overwhelming navigation, maybe a ton of drop downs. I would challenge you, if that's you, to go in and look at your traffic, your website analytics, whether you use Google Analytics or some platforms like Squarespace have built-in analytics, and you can see how many people are going to each page of your site. I bet you will find that there are some pages that you have in your main navigation that literally no one ever goes to. They never click on. So if that's the case, pull them out of your navigation and make it more simple. There really is usually only like 5 or 6 pages that get the vast majority of your traffic. So you may think you need more pages up there, but no one's going to them. So no one needs them up there. So that would be kind of my 5 quick tips on updating and refreshing the visual design of your site. If you looked at that first little pie graph and you're like, no one's coming to my site, my search strategy is kind of the piece that's missing in that. This is where we can help Google out a little. And this is something that I see in fitness studios a lot. If you do just the minimum like stuff that I'm going to talk about here, you're probably going to be in a better place than a lot of your competitors, because a lot of fitness studios don't know to do this stuff. Roughly 46% of all searches include a location. So that shows local buying intent. That shows that they want to go to a local business. So that's you. That's a huge chunk of all searches when you think about that. These are the best type of clients that you can get, because this is how you get found by people who are already looking for you. They're much warmer leads and much more motivated to act on those searches than people that you find on social media. A search that is valuable to you as a small business boutique fitness studio owner includes two pieces. It includes a service and a location. So if you have a Pilates studio, you kind of maybe care if someone's just searching Pilates, but they could have the intent of, buying a reformer for their home. They could be just researching history. They could be trying to figure out the difference. Where it really comes down to someone who's important to you is when they do the location modifier on it. So Pilates near me, Pilates Lincoln, Nebraska. So those two pieces. So we want to keep that in mind when we're optimizing your web presence for those things. So you want to also on your website have a page for every location and service. So if you have multiple locations, a page for each so that you can optimize for those search terms. And then getting those keywords, that service plus location, in the key places on your site, which I'm going to show you in a second, your page title, and then in your headline at a minimum. I can't tell you how many websites that I audit or I look at when they're on a consult call, and I have to dig to find out where that studio is located. I have to go find their contact page that's in their footer to find a map to say where they are. In this day and age of virtual studios, post-COVID, your location is your biggest differentiator, and so you can't hide it. You need to put it up on your homepage. You need to make it really clear where you are for Google and for people who are actually looking to go to a place in person. Okay, and the last piece of that little puzzle that we just talked about that you might want to focus on, and again, I recommend just kind of picking one of these and say, okay, that's going to be my focus for this fall, is your brand message. Like I said, with all the AI generated content, this is becoming a big differentiator. Don't waste key real estate with cliche messaging. So skip the expected. That means your first couple of thoughts, and if you created your website and you just threw whatever popped into your head as a headline, it's probably either cliche or it's just not connecting. It's not doing anything. It's kind of a waste. So an example of this would be, welcome to our studio, right? No one really needs to be welcome to a website. If you're using that as your main headline, you're missing that opportunity to grab them and say something that is that's going to actually catch their attention. You want to communicate in a way that makes prospects feel heard in the words that they need to hear. They need to feel on that homepage, on that website, I'm in the right place. They get me. They can solve my problems. That's what you're going for. Another mistake I see on studio websites is a lot of explaining what we do as a studio. We offer this. We're trained like this. And if you need to flip that around so that the customer sees themselves in your brand promise and what you're doing. So it's not about you, it's about them. I'll show you some examples in a second too. And then also going back again, I've said it several times here, but show, don't tell, using that multimedia communication idea. So if you say one thing, if you say we are inclusive and welcoming to everyone, and then the picture right next to it looks like a bunch of fitness instructor models, then you're not really showing what you just said. And that introduces a little bit of mistrust. Okay, so these are I kind of want you in your head thinking like, which one of these circles do I need to, is my issue, is the one thing that I can work on and have the biggest level opportunity for improvement. So if you don't have a search strategy, but you have the other things, you're the best kept secret, right? You know that your website is beautiful and it converts when people land there, but you just don't have enough traffic for people to come there. If you are feeling that your brand message is a little off, people are leaving like thinking, what's in it for me? They get to your website, they're like, oh, it's gorgeous, but people just don't act on that intro offer. They don't do anything. It's failing to connect. And then if your visual brand is off or just a little does not represent your studio in the best light, people are landing on your website and they're thinking something's off. I get to the website, but I'm not quite trusting this website. Something feels off for this business. Okay. All right. Now we'll get to a real practical part of this. We talked kind of big picture about where you might want to focus on your website. Now we're going to dial into the homepage because looking at your whole website can probably be a little overwhelming and people kind of sometimes fixate on pages that people, like I said, people don't visit all that much. And you're like, I need to fix this one page. Okay, well, not many, like 5 people went to that last month. So that's not your priority. However, everyone goes to your homepage. So if your homepage isn't doing its job, nothing else matters on your site. So that's why I want to focus on just how we can improve the homepage in the rest of the time we have here. Your homepage is the entry point for most visitors, obviously. 75% of consumers admit to making judgments on a company's credibility based on the website design. It's a little scary, right? You know you're a credible business, but most of people, and you know this when you go to websites, most people when they land on a website, your instant reaction is how credible this business is. I went over it doesn't take very long to build that either. Also, this is kind of not something that most people realize, but the quality of your homepage is actually a significant factor into the strength of your Google business profile, which is the profile that you have on Google that Google shows when someone searches for yoga studio near me or whatever. That's a really valuable piece of real estate. Yes, there are a lot of things you can do in that profile itself, but that profile looks at the homepage of your website to determine a lot of things. So if you can get your homepage really doing well, it's going to help you in search, and it's going to help you convert when people come from search or wherever they come from. Okay, so here's the check-in. Here's kind of the audit that you're going to do. You're going to open up your website and you're going to ask these 5 questions, pretending you know nothing about your business. What does this business do? Where is this business? Who is this for? Why should I care? And how do I start? If your homepage can check all 5 of those off the list in a relatively short period of time, your homepage is doing a really good job of converting or moving people along the path to a conversion. It's doing its job. So let's look at each one of those. And you can pull your website up right now and you can kind of go through this with me, or you can screenshot those questions and go back and do it to your own website when you have a little more time. And I would do this both on a desktop, and then I would do it again on a phone, because your design and the layout and where things are changes on the phone too. Okay, so first up, what does this business do? This is a plain language, how your ideal clients would actually type it into Google if they were looking for your business. So in this case, the example, you see it says Pilates and gyrotonic instruction, private, semi-private group classes. That's very clear. And we have those words right on the homepage in one of the subheadings. So if you land on your website and you're like, okay, it's a fitness studio, but you don't actually see very clean language about what it is. So maybe I'm looking for personal training. Maybe I'm looking for Pilates privates. We want those things to be mentioned and actually called out in words on the homepage. You can't just infer it by like, oh, they'll see it in the pictures. You actually need to say it. That's important for Google, and that's also important that people know they're in the right place. Okay, so that's what does this business do? Where is this business? So again, don't make me search for where you are in the world. This top screenshot here is of that homepage still, where we have the services listed. Right underneath that, we have Raleigh, North Carolina. So we have the location as well. I don't have to scroll to the bottom. I don't have to go to the contact page. It is literally on the homepage. As soon as I load the site, I see the services and I see the location. So I know I'm in the right place. I know I'm not confusing it with another Remedy Pilates that's in a different state, because yeah, you might think you have the only brand name for your business, but I guarantee there's really similar ones elsewhere in the world, and the average consumer can easily get those confused. So this location piece has kind of 3 pieces to it on your website. That homepage right as you load it, and then the footer, that other screenshot is of the footer. That's where you want your address, and you want that address to match what's in your Google business profile exactly. So go look at your Google business profile. If you've got a suite number or anything else, put that in the address in your footer too. I also like to link that address to the Google business profile. It just kind of helps connect those lines for Google. So the footer has the full address and a phone number as well that matches the Google business profile. And then the third spot on your homepage that you need to put your location information is in the homepage title. So that's with the blue arrow over here. If you're in a Chrome browser and you hover over the top tab, you'll see what your homepage title is. Many, many times I see that people just have this like home in their business name. This is a huge, huge spot where you need to have your location in it. Google looks at this really, really top priority to figure out where your business is. So you can see in this example, it says Raleigh, North Carolina, Pilates studio. and then I've got Remedy Pilates after that, the business name. So that is the #1 search term they're going for. And so we have that as their homepage title. Again, that probably, depending on your website platform, just Google how to change page title. If you don't know how to change that, it'll literally take you 2 minutes once you're logged into your website platform, and it can make a huge difference for your business. So location goes in one of the headlines, high up on the page. It goes in the footer with the full address, and it goes in your homepage title. And I say in the footer, that's where I usually put it. There's some website, templates that have like the address up at the top. That's totally fine too. It doesn't have to be in the footer. It just needs to be somewhere and uniform on all pages. The footer is just kind of the place that I typically put it. Okay, so now we know what this business does, where this business is very clearly before we even navigate off the homepage. To kind of piggyback on what I was just talking about the importance of that homepage title. These are the top 9 local pack ranking factors that you have control over. There's a few other ones in this top 10 list that are like where you're physically located, your proximity to the person searching, geography things that you don't have any control over. You're where you are and the searchers where they are, right? But these are the things that you have some control over, some things that you have some influence on. So number 8 on that list is keywords in the Google business page landing page title. And so what that means is you see the little like white box that says Remedy Movement. That's your Google business profile. There's that button on it right underneath the photos that says website. That you put that link in your Google business profile. You tell it where you want people to go if they click that website link. Most people, 99 out of 100 people, put that to your homepage. It doesn't have to be your homepage though, but most people go to their homepage. So that's what I was talking about, where Google actually looks at whether they want to show you or not. They look at that website homepage that you're linking up there. And one of the things they really look at is that landing page title to see if it's got, if you are where you say you are. They want to make sure that they're showing legitimate, trustworthy businesses in their results. So that's why that is a really important thing. The other things, just FYI, before we move on, if you're really thinking about your Google business profile, these are the other things that are really high ranking indicators of how you're going to show relative to your competitors. The category that you choose, the keywords in your title or the business name yourself. This is a whole nother briefing, but and then the ratings and reviews are also really important. That it's verified, that it's complete, all of that stuff. So basically just go in there, give it some love, make sure that you are talking about your services in the terms that people use to describe them. And you should be doing pretty good there. There's a lot more we could go in there, but I wanted to give kind of the overview and mention that the homepage of your website really does matter to that Google business profile. Okay, next up is who is this for? This gets a little more fuzzy. This is a little more like creative, not as cut and dry, black and white. But what I want you to look at is, are we speaking to our customers directly? So in this example, our resistance training sessions give you the customized workouts, accountability, and the care of committed coaches so you can reach your goals faster. See all the times that I'm saying you in there? You're speaking to the reader directly. You could easily rewrite that to it's like, our resistance training sessions, which I know they started that, but are designed to, maximize performance. And you could kind of write it like it was more of a textbook. This is writing, they're talking about you and you can reach your goals faster. So look at the text and the headlines specifically on your site and see if you can kind of massage them a little bit so that you're talking about people's goals, talking to them a little bit more. And then show it in photos. Do you have photos that show real clients? And then testimonials are another thing. If you don't have testimonials on your site, add some. You can probably go to your Google business profile and pick out some great ones now. I'm sure everyone's got some great testimonials. You can either use a widget like this example here where it's pulling in from Google, or you can just cherry pick your favorites and just put them on your site, in a slider in some other way. But the idea is that you're building trust. You're not, now you don't have to talk about how great you are. You can let your clients do that for you. Okay. Why should they care? This is kind of piggybacking on that last slide. a good way to do that is to give your homepage headlines a little makeover. Like I said, go in and find the ones that are just kind of falling flat, that are kind of generic, that are kind of wasted space, and like, how can we pump them up and make people feel like they're in the right place and just feel it when they come to your website? Um, I like to browse your online reviews for ideas. There's no better way to make people feel seen and heard than by seeing themselves in the words of other people. Your clients have given you all kinds of great copywriting nuggets in those reviews because that's how they actually describe their transformations at your studio. So let's use those. When you're looking through your reviews, is there an unexpected word you can use? Something you get out of the way of yourself and knowing so much about your business. And is there a way that you can describe it that really sounds like it would connect with people? And then, yeah, so that we can make it more about them and not about us. So let's look at an example. Okay, so this was an actual headline and text from an actual studio site that I found. The big headline was "Welcome to XYZ Studio," whatever studio name was. Underneath it was, "We're committed to delivering effective workouts to meet each client's unique needs." Now that you've been listening to me for 40 minutes, you know that that is very kind of studio centered. It's all about us. It's not about the client. So let's look about how we can refresh this headline and make it better. I would start going in, looking at some of their Google reviews, find some great ones, look for just some turns of phrase or some things that they've said that really kind of nail it. So in this case, these workouts, I was able to fit them in my busy schedule. If you hate working out but want to tone up and slim down, this is your place. This is a fantastic routine. It's done a fraction of the time and cost of any other, but with far better results. Okay, those is kind of the meat of some of the testimonials, and they're different than you might find on an average fitness studio, right? It speaks to the unique selling proposition of this business. So if we take those nuggets out of those reviews and we rewrite that headline, we can get something like this. Finally, a workout that fits in your busy schedule. Hate working out, but want to tone up and slim down? See results in 30 minutes a week. That's going to connect a lot better than that kind of flat generic one that we had on the first slide, right? And we didn't hire a copywriter for this. We just went in and looked at reviews. If you don't have reviews, if you're just starting out, go find a studio. I recommend in a different state or something, so it's not a competitor of yours directly, and just go dig through their reviews and see what actual clients are talking about and help you write your headlines. ChatGPT can also help you write your headlines. Here's how I like to use ChatGPT. I would not just go in and say, ChatGPT, I'm a yoga studio. Please give me some headlines for my website. You can do that, but they're all going to be real automated and not great sounding like, and they're not going to be different than the average fitness studio. So here's the prompt I like to use. Help me brainstorm some website headline ideas for my yoga studio. Use the following client reviews to help create headlines that reflect how my clients feel and help me attract more clients like them. And then come up with some like adjectives that describe your brand tone. So use a playful, casual, encouraging tone. And then go in to your Google reviews, cut and paste, and put them into ChatGPT and hit enter. It's going to give you some ideas, and they're going to be a little more creative and a little more on brand for you. So that's how I would start. It's a great way to use ChatGPT, but also using your own brand voice and your own clients' words in your headlines. So once you have those, you can go kind of just refresh some of the headlines on your website. I would start with the headlines and then some of the paragraph text, but the headlines are the most important. Okay, and then last thing is, how do I get started? You've heard this before, like a clear, compelling call to action. You've probably heard that before. What does that mean? That means that there is no doubt for the viewer, that the reader that comes on your site, when they make the decision, where they jump in and what they do. So it's a real clear, easy path. This call to action needs to be all over your site. It can go to like funnel people to one page where there's more information about what they need to do to get started. Maybe you have several intro offers, whatever it is. That's how I usually like to do it. There's like a get started page that's like step 1, step 2, step 3, whatever. This is how you get started. And then the calls to action all throughout the site lead people there. Kind of audit your site to see how clear that is. Definitely look at it on mobile. Are people having to hunt around to how they get started, or is it like right in front of them whenever they decide that they're there? Your website is mainly for new clients. Your existing clients, they might book with an app, they might, just show up. They, at a minimum, might come to your website, just go straight to the schedule tab. They might have the schedule tab bookmarked on their device. So you don't really need to design your full website for existing clients. They already know, they're already in. The majority of your website needs to be to reassure those new clients and get them into whatever that first step is at your studio. So go through your site with that in mind. I am brand new. Are there jumping off points throughout the way that'll lead me whenever I make that decision to get in the door and to get doing the thing or buying the intro offer? You should be bored of seeing it if you're looking through your website. Okay, and here's some examples of, I like to use a button at the top. It's not required at all, but I think it's nice where it's actually in the navigation. It's on every page. That's an easy way to make sure that they have one click to getting, probably 2 clicks to actually get in the cart and make a purchase. But at any point in time when they're browsing around your site, they have their home base. They can go up to that button. And these examples, it's book a discovery call is the button up there. The other one is a free intro workout. These are both personal training sites, but that could be, get 14 days for $49, start here, or could just something like that. That is your go-to place for getting people. So clean up your calls to actions, make a direct path. This is going to be really helpful when it comes to the end of the year and the January, converting that traffic that does land on your site. Okay, so just to review the homepage check-in. Again, if you take one thing away from this and you sit down for 10 minutes and you just go through your checklist or you go through your website and say, is it clear what my business does? Are those plain language services there? Is it clear where this business is? Is my location front and center, or do I have to dig for it? Is it clear who this is for? Am I showing that in photos and reviews on the site? Is it clear why anyone should care and why I'm different than the other studio websites that they have pulled up at the same time? Do my headlines, is my copy in general, does it connect? Is it client-centered? And then how do I start? Are there clear intro offer, clear buttons to get me there? That's your little checklist. That's your homework. Okay, I got a couple slides here because I always get this question when I'm talking about websites. So I want to talk about the difference between a refresh and a redesign. I talked about it just briefly at the beginning, but I kind of want to show you my analogy for that. So do you need a refresh on your website, or do you need a redesign? If you're thinking about your closet. You've got your closet, kind of a mess. It's been a while since you've been in there. There are 2 ways that you could approach that, right? The first one is you just go into your closet and you move some things around. Maybe you pull a couple things out, but you're just kind of rearranging what's going on. That would be a website refresh. That's kind of all the stuff that I've talked about here. Go in, tweak a few headlines, swap some photos out, maybe remove a few things from the navigation, right? You're just refreshing it. You're giving it a fresh look. You're changing, what's going on. That is a great thing to do, especially right now. The other way you could approach that closet is you're like, it needs a full, in this case, a full redesign. So we're going to pull everything out. All the clothes come out, all the shoes come out, everything comes out. We have a blank, empty one. We're going to wipe it all down, make it all clean. And then we're going to look at every piece individually and decide whether it goes back in or not. That's a redesign. So that is something that you typically would want to work with a designer on, especially if you've got some search credibility built up and you have traffic from search engines already. That's where I think it's valuable working with a designer. Make sure you get on the new platform and all of that. So you might not be at the redesign point, but you might be at the refresh point. I feel like everyone needs to refresh their website at least once a year. Just go see if there's old stuff on there, if you can tweak some things, and that will get you through most years. Redesign, you might want to consider the full redesign. I need to pull everything out, and I need to we need a new look going forward. This is a good idea if your site's older than 3 to 5 years. Technology has probably changed if that's the case. Maybe your services, your clientele has changed significantly. Your content hasn't kept up. Your brand has changed. Your visuals, your messaging has changed. Your website looks dated. Things are broken and you don't know how to fix it. Or the digital clutter just has you in major overwhelm. Okay, those are reasons why budgeting for maybe a redesigned website in 2025 might be something that you might want to do. On the other side, a quick refresh of your site. If you're already on the latest version of your website platform, if you've switched scheduling softwares recently or you plan to, that's a pretty easy swap. If you're adding or refining services, if your brand messaging has evolved or wasn't intentional in the first place, that's probably fine for a refresh. You can go in and change text probably pretty easy. Or if you've added new content, but you haven't been real diligent with maintaining brand standards, so things are just a little rough looking, you can go in and clean that up. Don't need a full redesign. You can just go in and refresh certain pages. Again, I would start with the most frequently trafficked ones, the home page, the schedule, the about, the new client page, pricing pages. Those are the pages that most people go to. So there's kind of two different paths you can do from here as far as implementing the stuff. If you have any questions on that, happy to talk about it. Okay, so before you start a new website project, if you are doing the redesign or if you are, leaning into like, okay, that piece of the pie that's the visual, I really need to do some work there. These are the three things that you need to do before you just open up your website and start editing. You need to get clear on, you need to have photos that you like. That might require a photo shoot. So if you're planning kind of for the future, if you don't like your photos, you're not gonna like your website. And when I say photos, I mean photos and video, but that kind of they go hand in hand. They're a really important piece to whether the website is visually representative of your studio. Your branding, your logo, your colors. If you don't really have great branding, it's going to be hard to translate that to your website. And then the copywriting, that's the words on your website. You need to have a good idea of your brand voice and you need to write the content. The copywriting, the words are what take people, they're the things that slow down projects. So that is what takes the longest time. So if you're working on these, maybe you're working on one of these three pieces that you want to upgrade first, and then they all three come together on your website. I'm going to send out in one of these follow-up emails that Bookie's going to send out. I've got a website photo guide, a PDF that has a checklist or like a shot list. If you are planning a new photo shoot for the next year, it'll help you get photos, keeping in mind where you need them on your website and what works best, tech specs and visually for a website. So look for that in a follow-up email from them, and then reach out if you've got any questions on all the other ones. Boogie's going to talk now for a few minutes on some features that they have that relate to what we talked about here, and then stick around because we'll do a Q&A after they're done.
Hey, thanks, Connie. This was a great session. I literally had my notepad out and I took down a few points. And if I do have some interviews with studio owners, I'm definitely going to give them these pointers because it's really important that they understand that the website is the first impression that people take of boutique fitness studios when people go finding them online. Thank you so much for this session. And thank you everybody for joining in. Now let me introduce you to something cool that we're doing at Bookie. Let me go ahead and share my screen. In the meantime, do think about the session and we'll have a Q&A just after I show you this cool feature that we're working on. So if I see some of our Bookie studios here, but if you're new here, at Bookie, we are obsessed with helping boutique fitness studios become million-dollar businesses. And we really believe that you can run your business like a well-oiled machine. And the important thing for you to have is a great software that you can take advantage of. And Bookie is one of them. While we have a really cool product, which has a CRM, a marketing automation tool that you can use, we also believe that you need to have open and free access to knowledge, just like today's session, where Connie helped you understand why your website is important and how to make the best impression to the leads that come to your website. Let's think about a few points that she mentioned. So please use the chat and let me know. This is going to be like a quiz. These are the key takeaways that I want you to remember after today's session. So let's begin with the first one. Connie mentioned that these number of people learn more about a local business like yours online than anywhere else. Go ahead and use the chat. Let me see if you remember this number. Connie, you cannot type it in. That is not fair. You are not allowed to type it in. All right. I hope you remember this number because the bigger you're thinking, the right direction that is you're thinking. So go ahead, use the chat. Let me know what you think is the number. 92%, Damon, you're so close, so close. Think a little more higher, more than 92. Connie, you're not supposed to give clues. You're not allowed to give clues. So sorry, just a second. 97%, guys. 97% of people learn more about a local business online than anywhere else. So it's very important for you to have a great website that is on brand for your studio, and you optimize your website for SEO and make sure you rank on Google. You have great content there, great visuals, and great branding on your website. And the second stat that I want you to take home today is these X number of seconds is all it takes for users to form an opinion. And the smaller you think, the right direction you're thinking. And this number is so small, I'm not even going to read it out because I'm going to be taking so much time just reading it out. It is so small. The decimals are insane here. It takes people just 0.05 seconds to form an opinion of anything that you put online, be it your social media, your website, your ads, anything. It just takes 0.05 seconds. So it's very important that your website has great visuals and makes a really great impression on the leads that come looking for you. And my last stat is roughly how many percentage of all searches include a location. And I want you to remember this stat because it's really important for you to know this and monetize on this. So go ahead, let me know. I look for your answers in the chat. Oh, I gave it away too soon. 46% of all searches include a location. And this is why it's important for you to leverage Google as a discovery channel. And these are high intent searchers. They already know about your business. They're looking for services like Pilates, yoga on Google. So they really want to experience a class in your fitness studio. And it's very important that you rank here and you appear in searches that include a location like yoga studios in New York, yoga studios in Seattle. So it's very important that you remember this stat and work on your Google presence. So the first thing that you will do after today's workshop is this. If you already know this answer, that means today's workshop was a success and you know exactly what you're supposed to do. You are supposed to set up a Google business profile for a fitness studio. If you already have one, that is fantastic. You're doing a great job. Just go ahead and update it. Drop your website link in your Google business profile because it's very important for you to create a first impression. When people click on your website, within searches, like within maps or within the SERP results, they need to find your website, and your website creates the first impression of the services that you're going to offer. Now, how do you turn Google into a lead generation engine? If you want free leads from Google, I'm talking organic here, nothing paid. You're not going to do Google ads. If you want free leads from Google, how are you going to do it? One, you're going to build a really great website that is easy to navigate, has great content in there, has great visuals. And I hope you took down the points that Connie mentioned because that's going to make your website really on point and on brand for your studio. Apart from that, you need to have a Google presence. And how are you going to get free leads from Google? How are you going to turn Google into a discovery channel? So ideal discovery path for your fitness studio via Google search would look like this, where someone uses Google to say, hey, Pilates classes near me. And they would find you and they would go to your booking page and book a class with your Pilates studio. But guys, a reality check here. This is not how discovery actually looks. And this is how the path looks. Someone searches for you, saying Pilates studio near me or Pilates studio in New York. And these are high intent searches. And what you will be doing right now is you probably paying Google, running Google ads, and probably spending a bunch of money on being one in the sponsored links. Okay, someone looking for you with high intent found you via the sponsor link. Great, but you spent a lot of money here. And maybe you're even paying marketplaces to show you in the results, and they probably take a commission from you, which might not be needed because these are high intent searches which you could have got for free from Google. But hey, you paid for ads, you're paying marketplaces, and then they finally lead them to maybe coupons or discounts, and they're quite lost or overwhelmed, and your organic lead with high intent drops off. And if they didn't, maybe a fraction of them do end up on your website. And now they don't know where to come inside your website and book a class with you. So this is where it's important for you to build a great website, which is easily navigable and has the right content in there to help people navigate to the sections that they want to come to. And some of them get lost here. It's like a maze. Honestly, this part does look like a maze. And some of them do drop off here. And the fraction of people who stay on will not be able to find your booking page. So that high intent lead who was looking for you, you lost them and you ended up paying for sponsored links and marketplaces while you could have got them organically. How do you do that? How do you build a frictionless journey for discovery to your boutique fitness studio's website? Let's say I'm Sarah, or I'm looking for couples yoga classes near me, and I'm going to type that in, couples yoga classes near me. And on maps, you can see that it ranked some of these places, and you can see yoga with you appeared here and yoga bond appeared here. You can see they have the similar kind of ratings, 4.8 stars each. And Yoga Bond actually has 80 reviews, but Yoga with You has 72 reviews. Now, let's think about why Yoga with You is ranking on top. You might remember from Connie's sessions, she spoke about the local Google Pack program, where Google prioritizes what businesses to show when searchers with local intent start looking for you. So what's the reason Yoga with You appeared on top? Because probably it has great reviews, great ratings, and it is near someone who's searching for couples yoga classes, and they offer that. And they have this neat and tidy book online button, which Yoga Bond doesn't have. That's probably why they're up here and they're ranking in the Google 3 pack. And this is not something that you can buy. You need to have a good software that helps you get this book online button. And someone like me who doesn't want to talk to the front desk, just want to do things myself, will click on the book online button, and I'll directly go to Yoga with You's booking page, and I see a nice book button here, and I'm free at this time, and I'm going to book a session with Yoga with You. That's how frictionless this journey is. It just takes 3 clicks, and a lead like me ended up booking a class. And no marketplaces, no sponsored links, nothing. High intent search, and I ended up getting the class that I want. And now I'm a happy lead, and my customer experience has been great, right? Now, how do you let leads book with 3 clicks? That's where the Reserve with Google advantage comes. Reserve with Google, I think most of you would have used this when you're looking for a restaurant and you search for restaurants near me and you see a book button there and you decide you're free at 7 p.m. and you book a slot there. That's the same thing. Reserve with Google works even for boutique fitness studios. And this is not something that Google gives you. You need a Google vetted software if you want that nice book online button. And Bookie is the only modern fitness studio software that has the Reserve with Google integration. And we give you this book online button. It's free for all Bookie users. And we really believe that this is very important as a discovery channel for people to find you on Google and be able to book just right from Google, and it takes you directly to the booking page of a boutique studio. Now, if you're having a hard time visualizing how Reserve with Google works, I have a video for you. So let me go ahead and play it, and you'll be able to visualize how Reserve with Google helps you get leads directly from Google. Let me know if the audio is working right. So let me go ahead and play this video.
I
Did
just
you know
stopped
that
share, so you may have to share.
97% of people search for local services online? Imagine your studio showing up at the right time and getting classes booked instantly. Bookie integrates Reserve with Google, so customers can book your classes directly from Google Search and Maps. Having a Google business profile isn't enough. You need a Google vetted business management software. Over the last 6 months, we've worked with Google to bring you this awesome feature. Want to supercharge your local search presence with Google? It's not too late.
Like I said, guys, it's really important for you to have the Reserve with Google feature because you end up ranking better and you also rank within the Google Local 3-Pack program, which is really important for you to be discoverable. And it leads people to your website, which is the first impression that you make on leads that are looking for you. Now, you're wondering, is this really going to work? Is Google search really a lead channel? Don't worry, we've released this feature 2 months ago, and around 80% of Bookie Studios have already started using it, and we're loving how Google's working for them because we're tracking it for them. And this is exactly how our Reserve with Google dashboard looks. We help you track clicks that you get on the book online button that we give you, and we help you track the total bookings that you get via book online, via Reserve with Google. We help you understand the number of bookings you got and the revenue that you're making from bookings that are coming from Google. We even do this cool thing where we show you the top 5 memberships that people who are coming to your website from Google are buying. So it helps you understand what to advertise and what to prioritize and work on. And if you want to add more services, you can do that. And we even show you the top 5 services that people clicked when they came via Google. So this is a very broad level dashboard, which you can even drill down by just clicking within these sections, and it will give you a breakdown of what's happening with each click. And that's how cool this analytics is. So it's free for all Bookie users. So those of you who are Bookie Studios here, use your analytics. And I hope when you look at your analytics screen today, it brings a smile on your face because Google's working for you and Google's going to work, guys. And there's no doubt about it. So if you're a Bookie Studio, you're here, go ahead and integrate Reserve with Google. It's free for you. And for those of you who are new here and would like to give Bookie a try, you can do that. And why should you do it? Because it's so easy to set up. Just like how a lead just takes 3 clicks to come to your website, Reserve with Google can also be set up in 3 clicks. 3 clicks is all it takes in Bookie to set up Reserve with Google. Just like the image shows, it's that easy to do. And it's very important for you to leverage this as a discovery channel. And like Connie said, all roads lead to your website. And this is a very important path to your website. So go ahead and integrate Reserve with Google. And this is something that we saw in the past 2 months since we rolled out this feature, that bookings really increase when you have the book online button next to your Google business profile. And this is a survey that we did within Bookie, and 46% increase in bookings for Bookie Studios that started using Reserve with Google. And we've had customers writing to us saying that this is great, this is working for them. And they shared a few stories with us. We loved hearing from you. And we're going to see this number increase as number of studios who start using this integration increase. And we'll be happy to share those stats with you soon. And if you need any help with enabling Reserve with Google, if you're a Bookie Studio, please get in touch with support@bookieapp.com. And if you are not a Bookie Studio and you'd like to explore how this works, you can book a demo with our expert and they'll walk you through how all of this works and take you through the entire process. And if you have any questions, our experts are really good and they'll help you out. I hope you think about this while we end this webinar. It's really important you leverage Google as the discovery channel and make sure that your website is on point for the sales season that is coming in Jan. Like Connie said, it's very important that you start your work right now before it's too late. and she's got a bunch of handouts that we'll give to you. And if you have any questions regarding your website refresh, please go ahead and use the chat, and Connie will take up those questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I love like just I work with a lot of different softwares and studios, and like just the easy to see analytics. Analytics is one of those really challenging things for all studios with third-party booking softwares. So I love that Bookie's made that really easy to see the results of that marketing channel, because it is hard. It's hard for studios to like, it's that marketing soup out there. A lot of people coming from a lot of different directions, and it's nice to be able to see really clear numbers. So nice job with that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, I can look back through the chat. Yes, there will be a replay. Thank you for everyone who said they found it valuable. That's awesome. Neville said he is moving away from a boutique studio brand and focusing on a personal brand. That's an interesting husband and wife team. Yeah, that's an interesting kind of brand shift for sure. You know, all of everything that we talked about still applied. Question for you, Neville, are you closing down the brick and mortar, or are you doing like personal trainer? Are you going to your clients, or are they still coming to a physical location? You know, that'll change a little bit of the marketing strategies, particularly with the search. But that's kind of an interesting like brand position. And the you know, the personal, you definitely show pictures of yourself on there. It can't hide behind like a brand anymore when it's a personal brand, and seeing yourself on video is going to be really important too for connecting. Any other questions? Put this slide up, and just if anyone needs to hop off, that's where you can find me. That's my website, pixalitydesign.com. There's my email. Feel free to email me, or I'm on Instagram pretty regularly at pixalitydesign. Are blogs still an important feature for Google search? I love this question because I get this one, or for Google ranking. Having a blog itself is not going to do anything magical in Google for you. I think, you know, it's not a top level strategy for a brick and mortar studio who wants to create content. If SEO, if Google rankings is the goal, you need to make sure that the core page, your Google business profile is really good first. The core pages of your website have really good content and are optimized really well. I think a blog has three main purposes for a fitness studio. One is if you, as the studio owner, want to create thought leadership pieces. If you have a different perspective on things in your industry and you are building yourself up as a thought leader in the industry, a blog is a great place for you to put some of that information into writing. And that can help your marketing, that can help your SEO, because if you start getting linked to as, you know, what's your name? Was it? But like say Tamara, because I'm just looking at that, you know, owner of XYZ Studio, and other websites, media sources linked to your articles, that can help. But that's something that may or may not be of interest to you. A second reason to have a blog is so that you can thoroughly answer frequently asked questions in a place where you can have a reference that you can send clients when you get that question again. So if you find yourself answering the same questions, put it all in one place. You look like the expert when the next person asks, because you already have an article written on it. And the third reason I think you might consider a blog is if you can tie that content into local events. So here in Lincoln, we have 2 marathons. There's like a big fall marathon and a big spring marathon. If you write content in those seasons that is tied to those local events, and you mention that local event, you link to the website for that, it's got a local tie-in, that can surface in Google and can bring you visibility in your local area. If you are writing articles that don't fall into any of those 3 buckets, it's not necessarily industry thought leadership, it's not necessarily a frequently asked question that you're going to use as a retention tactic, and it's not tied into local events, I don't think blog content is going to do a whole lot for you, because you might attract traffic, but the chances of those traffic being near you and actually a potential client is very, very slim. You know, you might attract traffic from a different country or a different state. But if it doesn't have the local tie-in, it's not an SEO tactic. Okay. Blog question. Okay, Neville used to own 3 studios, 3 different studios. Now they have 1. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, even if you're going down to one and you're doing more personal brand, personal training, osteopath stuff, Google Business Profile still absolutely is a great place for you. If you have kind of two, I mean, you said husband and wife team, if you've got kind of two different businesses, you probably still need to combine them. I'm thinking out loud. But yeah, there's no reason if you have a brick and mortar location, Google's still a great path for you. And all the same stuff applies. Like if people are looking to solve a problem, does your website build trust and does it connect with that problem? Whether it's you personally or whether it's a team of people, it's still kind of the same when it comes to the visual and the messaging piece. Let's see. You simply look at a website for consultation fee. Yes, I do, Tamara. I have, if you go to my website, there's the top tab, there's a consulting one. It's a 60-minute consulting call. No, that's one-off. We'll look at your website. I'll tell you all the thoughts. It's recorded. If you book one of those and you do decide to book a website project later down the road, that cost will apply to it. But there's no commitment to that. Yeah, it's just an hour kind of website consultation audit that you can purchase and book on my website directly. Sorry, it keeps jumping around. Yeah, so Neville says the physical location, but want to grow as a brand rather than a studio. Yeah, same. You do kind of need to think about, like, are we doing virtual stuff where they don't need to be close? That's a different marketing strategy, or a personal brand that's in the local area. That's kind of the decision you have to make. Marketing a brand, like a virtual brand that you want to hit the whole country, those are a lot more complex marketing challenges, and the tactics that we talked about here might not be totally relevant for you, because this was all based on, we have a very small radius of people who can become our clients. So some of those other marketing strategies might be, blogging would probably be more important. We could talk more about that offline, but okay. Video, podcasts, and YouTube thoughts. I have a podcast. Yeah, I also get a lot of traffic from YouTube. I recommend that every boutique fitness studio has at least one video on YouTube that is like an about video that is our brand, this location in the title, because Google owns YouTube and Google surfaces YouTube videos all on their own, not connected to a website or anything else. So yes, definitely at least have one that's like optimized for those search terms. So maybe it's Pilates classes, Sacramento, California. And then you have another video that's like bar classes, Sacramento, California, or whatever, and where you talk about each modality. That type of stuff would be like the baseline actions that you could do on YouTube that actually might surface you. Again, Google owns YouTube. They love surfacing YouTube videos. So I would do that first. And you could do that and you could combine that with your video podcast agenda. If you're going to put them on YouTube, I would sneak your location in there. If you could if they're like interviews with clients, you could do, Sally from Fair Oaks, California, or whatever, to get location stuff in there. I do a podcast. I don't do video just because it complicates for my guests and I want it to be really easy for them. But I do have a ton of video content that I've done very intentionally to surface for people who are searching for different niche topics. So your podcast, your ongoing video content, that's where you get into long tail keywords. So like, how do I lose weight after 40 or whatever, like specific topics. If you can loop that into like a local thing, that could help you. But I would look at, I guess the thoughts on that would be, look at your podcast titles based on how people are searching for things, what problems they have and the words that they're using, and try to incorporate that into some of your titles. And then putting them on YouTube is just a great way to repurpose it if you have a regular podcast too. You're welcome, everyone. Yeah, if you've got further questions, send me a DM on, if you just want like random thoughts, send me a DM on Instagram. If you want to talk specifically about your website, potential project, email me, or go to my website, you can see about my services. If you know you're not in for like an actual project, but you just want like an audit consulting, you can book and pay for that directly on my website. But yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Bookie.
Hey, thanks, Connie. And the Q&A was really nice. And thank you, everybody, for participating. And we will send the handouts that Connie gives us on the webinar highlights email. And we're hoping to have her for more of these workshops. They're going to be super informative. So, Connie, please check your emails. We'll get in touch with you. All of you who joined today, thank you so much and hope you have a great weekend. And stay tuned for the Studio Success series. We have more coming your way. And we love having you here and we love hosting these sessions. And thank you for joining. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.